Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Om. Natma Om Vishwadaya Ishtabhistai Bhutali Sumati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today we're going to hear several things. Definitely a lot of Prabhupada nectar. But first we're going to hear about King or Maharaj Kadvamga. Maharaj Kadvamga was a saintly king. And even though he was a king, he was not forgetful of his spiritual duties in life. And this was typical of all the saintly kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, Prithu Maharaj, and so forth. So Maharaj Kadvamga was virtually a invincible fighter. And therefore, once when the demigods had a big war with the demons, they came to the earth and asked Maharaj Kadvamga to help them defeat the demons. And he did. And Maharaj Kadvamga was a person who was very alert in discharging his prime duty. That is, going back to Godhead. And because of that acute awareness of what the purpose of life is, he was also attentive to all duties that he performed, especially as king. And he fought the battles with the demons, and he won. And he helped the demigods defeat the demons. So the demigods were very satisfied with him, so they said that they wanted to give him some benediction for material enjoyment. But Maharaj Kadvamga, who was very, very, let's say, sharp-minded, he understood that he should ask one question before he accepts any benediction like that. So he said, how long am I going to live to enjoy these things? So he wasn't so anxious to accumulate material benedictions because everything is temporary in the material world. And he was more interested in, what's going to happen in my next life, not so much about enjoying this life. So he asked the demigods, and the demigods gave him the answer. They said that he would only live for a few more minutes. So he immediately left the demigod planets where there's tremendous material enjoyment, and he came down to the earth and took shelter of Lord Krishna. And in that way, he attained liberation from birth and death. Because if you know you only have a few minutes to live, then you get real serious about Krishna consciousness. So even though he rushed to surrender completely to Krishna, he was liberated because he did it with all fervor, with all his mind focused completely on Krishna. That means that he understood what his most important duty in life is. And when he had the opportunity to completely surrender and get away from all the other duties that he had, he took it right away. So that's what death is like. It can either bewilder a person or it can make them extremely serious about Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada tells a story. He was asked a question. He said, the question is, I believe I've heard you say in other lectures that a person who takes prasadam, even a plant or almost anything, any kind of living entity who takes prasadam or hears the holy name, that it will come back, that the person will come back at least to the human form of life. Is that correct? Prabhupada said, no. If he's a devotee, then he'll come. But this taking of prasadam or hearing Hare Krishna is advancement for becoming a devotee. But if he takes prasadam not as ordinary foodstuff, he believes that this is remnants of foodstuffs given to God. If he understands this philosophy, then he's guaranteed at least a human birth. If he takes the prasadam as ordinary food, all right, these people are distributing, let me take it. It is very tasteful. That will give him chance to accept prasadam again and again and again. In this way, one day, he will come to the point that this prasadam is not ordinary food, and then he becomes a devotee. There's a guarantee. But only devotees can appreciate prasadam. This prasadam is not ordinary foodstuff, it is Krishna's remnants. Therefore, he understands Krishna. That is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam, ivam yo veti tatvata, tyakva deham punarajanman, maiti mam eti sarjana, 4th chapter, 9th verse. If you simply understand what is Krishna, and what is your relationship with Krishna, that is sufficient to take you back to home, back to Godhead. That is sufficient. It is so nice. On another occasion, Prabhupada is commenting, he says, don't take anything which is not easily done by you. In other words, don't undertake any endeavor which is not easily done by you. You find out in your life what your natural occupation is, what you can very nicely and easily perform. And you do it for Krishna. That's it. It's that clear. You become expert. This is expertise. Expert does not mean that I do not know how to drive a car, and I will have to imitate somebody. No. I shall become driver. Why? If you do not know driving, why should you attempt driving? Whatever you know, you just try it, that business, and try to satisfy Krishna. If you know driving, that's all right, but don't take. Well, in other words, he's saying, whatever you can do nicely and easily for Krishna, that's what you should do in your life. My Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada says, explained that you haven't got to learn anything extra for Krishna's service. Whatever you know, you just apply it. Then you become successful. Because our time is very short. We do not know when I am going to die. As soon as I am out of this body, I am completely under the grip of nature. And I do not know what kind of body I'm getting next. Okay. So in the same way, Maharaj Kadvanga, he was very alert to his prime duty in life, which is serve Krishna and remember Krishna always, and speak about Krishna, and think about Krishna. So on another occasion, Prabhupada was talking about Africa. He said, do you know that in Africa they have a popular ritual where they kill their grandfather? And they feast on his flesh. These are cannibals. And Prabhupada says that's a great sport for some Africans, that the grandsons will kill the grandfather and have a feast on his body by roasting him. And the same idea, Prabhupada says, is preached by the communists. They want that all old men of the society, they should be killed. That is one of the theories put forward by the communists. Because they're not producing anything. So just imagine, these things will come gradually. So better to leave this place as soon as possible, not to come again. That should be our serious attention. The other day, the radio man was asking Swamiji how to adjust. And there is no adjustment. You have to go out of the scene. There is no adjustment. So he was not very happy. If I would have bluffed him, oh, you do this, you do that, you do this humanitarian work, you spread education and give food stuff. No, there is no adjustment. The only adjustment is quit this place. That is the function of the human form of life. You can get out of this show by Krishna consciousness. Krishna says that this is the abode of miseries and that all temporary things. And because you cannot accept any miserable life, that is the spell. Because you can accept any miserable life under the spell of Maya, just like dog life. If somebody asked me, would you like to be a dog? I can make you into a dog. Shall I agree? Why not? Because I know that's a miserable life. But the dog is satisfied by becoming a purchased slave. Right? They become very much satisfied. He has no independence, always chained and always servant, eternal servant of a particular man. He can do any harm. He can do any harm by the order of the master. He's so faithful. But still, his life is miserable because he's dog. But he is satisfied. He thinks that, oh, it is a very nice life. This is called the covering power of Maya, or illusion. Anyone in the most miserable condition of life thinks, oh, I'm very happy. And if you ask him, how are you? Oh, very nice, he'll say, very nice. So there's no adjustment. A Krishna conscious person should, he knows that here only adjustment is to live in Krishna. In other words, he's saying there's no, you don't habituate yourself or adjust yourself to living an impious life. You have to give that up. So a Krishna conscious person knows that here only adjustment is to live in Krishna consciousness. That is the only possibility. If he's materially conscious, what is the difference between materially conscious man and Krishna conscious man? Materially, Krishna conscious, materially, a conscious person is thinking everything as his property or enjoyable thing. That's a material consciousness person. And Krishna conscious person is seeing the same thing belonging to Krishna. A materially conscious person is satisfied. You get him a nice aromatic flower. One second. Haribol? Okay, Haribol. So, a Krishna conscious person, he at once thinks, a materially conscious person is satisfied. You give him some nice aromatic flower for his personal enjoyment. But a Krishna conscious person, he at once thinks, it is a very nice flower, it should be offered to Krishna. The flower is there, he is there, the consciousness has changed, that's all. He's thinking everything in relationship with Krishna. Here, the man distributing food to the animals and fish, he's thinking, I am doing some pious activities and I shall enjoy the fruit of it. And that's a fact. But if we distribute Krishna Prasadam, we think that this man is being supplied Krishna Prasadam. One day he may become Krishna conscious. There's no personal question. And the principle of distributing Krishna Prasadam is there. Therefore, even they don't charge. If you distribute the prasadam, if you are able, you're doing nice service. Because by eating only prasadam, he shall one day become Krishna conscious. So the whole program is for Krishna, and that is Krishna karma. You are preparing, you are earning money, you are distributing prasadam. Why? For Krishna's sake. Otherwise, why should you work so hard? But we have voluntarily accepted. Oh, Krishna will be satisfied. This is Krishna consciousness. Some Siddhir Haritoshanam. The highest principle of all Dharma is Haritoshima, is to please the Lord, is to glorify the Lord. Everyone may act in his own duty. It doesn't matter what kind of duty he has got, but he has to see whether by execution of that duty Krishna is satisfied. Then he's successful. That is the version in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Atak pumbir dvijasistas, varnashramam vibhagasa, swanistitasya dharmasya samsadir haritoshanam. Swanistitasya dharmasya. Everyone has got a specific duty. So one has to see that by his specific duty, that he's been entrusted or responsible to discharge, whether Krishna is being satisfied. That's all. Therefore, one has to accept a bona fide spiritual master to know whether Krishna is being satisfied by his work. Who will certify? You cannot concoct, oh, I am doing for satisfaction of Krishna. No, that is not possible. It must be accepted by the representative of Krishna. Yes, by your work, Krishna is satisfied. Then it is all right. So anustitasya dharmasya. In everything, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, just stick to these two books very nicely. Swanustitasya dharmasya samsadir haritoshan. It is a great science and very intricate also, but one has to learn also very diligently. Krishna consciousness is not for the fools. It is not for the fools. Highly intelligent class of men. He can understand the philosophical aspect of Krishna consciousness. But the thing is so attractive that even a child, even a fool is attracted. Yes, that is the beauty. Although it is very difficult to understand this philosophy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced a system that anyone can take it. Hare Krishna. So here Prabhupada has made a lot of important points. But the highest criterion that a devotee should consider is swanustitasya dharmasya samsadir haritoshanam, that the perfection of the entire varnashram system, or the purpose of it, is to please Lord Hari, to please Krishna. It doesn't matter what your duty is. What matters is doing it in such a way that Krishna will be pleased. And how do we know if Krishna is pleased? It must be accepted by the representative of Krishna. That's the key. And if the representative of Krishna says, yes, by your word Krishna is satisfied, then it's all right. So Prabhupada says, just stick to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And this verse, Atak pumbir dvijasestas varnashrama vibhagasaha swanistitasya dharmasya samsadir haritoshanam, first canto, second chapter, verse number 13. He says, it's a great science and very intricate, but one has to learn it very diligently, meaning very carefully. Krishna consciousness is not for the fools. It's not for the fools. It's meant for the highly intelligent class of men. Only they can understand the philosophical aspect of Krishna consciousness. But Krishna consciousness is so attractive, even a child, even a fool is attracted. So we see how Lord Chaitanya has opened up the treasure chest of love of God for everyone and is distributing it freely to everyone. So Prabhupada tells a story that in 1925 or 6 he was traveling with his 2-year-old son. No, he was in the home with his 2-year-old son. And he said there was a table fan. So the son said, I would like to touch it. And Prabhupada said, no, no, don't touch. But the child tried to touch it anyway. So Prabhupada is explaining, just like a child wants to do something, the father says, don't do it. And Prabhupada says, I have said several times, reluctantly, all right, do it. I have given this example of my practical experience in 1925 or 26 when my son was 2 years old. There was a table fan. I would like to touch it, my son said. And I said, no, don't touch. This is a child. So he again tried to touch it. So a friend said, look, just slow down the fan, the speed of the fan, and let him touch it. So Prabhupada says, so I did that. I slowed down the speed, and he touched it, and it struck his finger. After that, he never touched it again. So obviously, it hurt his finger a little bit, not as much as if it was going at full speed. Right? So he learned his lesson. So he slowed it down, and the boy touched it. So sometimes it's necessary to be burned once, and then twice one will not do it. So when a person gets experience, even if I ask him, now touch the fan, he'll say, no, I don't want to touch it. You know. So Prabhupada says, all of us who have come to the material world, it's similar. Therefore, God comes again to inform all the rascals that now you have tried so much, better give up this sinful life and come back to me. Sarvadharmam Parityajya, by surrendering unto me. One time Prabhupada was traveling on a train in Calcutta, and his youngest son was with him. He was only 2 years old. So the conductor, out of a joke, asked him, give me your fare, to the boy. And Prabhupada said, this is Saranagati, surrender. There are 6 points of surrender. One is to believe that Krishna will protect me. Just like a small child has got full faith in his mother. My mother is there. There is no danger. Confident. I have seen it. I'll narrate one practical experience. In Calcutta, in my younger days, I was traveling in a train, and my youngest son, he was with me. He was only 2 years old, or 2.5 years old. So the conductor, out of a joke, asked him, give me your fare. So he first of all said like this, I have no money. So the conductor said, then you get down off this train. He immediately said, oh, here's my father. And he pointed toward his father. You see, you cannot ask me to get down. My father is here, you see? So this is the psychology. If you have approached Krishna, then even the greatest fear will not agitate you. That is a fact. So such a thing is Krishna consciousness. Try to achieve this greatest boon, Krishna consciousness. And that, what Krishna says, Konteya pratijani name bhakta pranasyati. Anyone who is serving me sincerely, I promise that they will never perish. Konteya pratijani name bhakta pranasyati. Yeah. So that's an important verse. Let's see, it's in the 9th chapter. Let's take a look at that. Konteya pratijani name bhakta pranasyati. Shipam bhavati dharmatma satsvas shanti negachati konteya pratijani nami bhakta pranasiti. So, in the 9th chapter, 30th verse, Krishna says, even if one commits the most abominable act, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is considered to be saintly, because he is properly situated in his determination. Then the next verse he says, by continuing in that devotional service, he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So Prabhupada explains in the purport this should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. Okay, so what verse is that in the 7th chapter? He's not engaged in mischievous activities. If he is engaged in mischievous activities, he cannot become a devotee of the Lord. That is so it says no, not that. Oh yeah, namam duskritin namudha prapadyante naradama maya pritagyana asuram bhavam asritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So that's straightforward verse. They will never surrender unto Krishna. Okay. So in the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. 7th chapter, verse number 15. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. Yeah, so what verse is that? Yasyasti bhakti bhagavat yukinchana sarva gunastatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahad guna manoratanasati dahabuto bayi. So this verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me just find that verse. Yes. 57. Okay, so it's one who has, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, 12th verse. It says, one who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Okay, so one who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. So that's a difficult verse to understand. Most people say, well, wait a minute, I know people that are not devotees, they're nice people. Right? But what is their motivation? That is something that's more difficult to understand. Just like someone might get married to another person because they're a nice person. And later on they find out they're actually a horrible person. So that niceness was just superficial, but underneath everything was actually a horrible person. Right? How will you know if someone is a nice person? That they're consistently Krishna conscious. And therefore they're always on guard to behave nicely and not be a source of nuisance to others. Okay. So the question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? Right? That's what this verse says. The previous verse says, it says, Apichet sudara charo bhajanti mam ananyabhag sadur evas samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha. So it says that even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Determination to do what? Determination to always be engaged in Krishna's service under the instructions of bona fide devotees. So, the question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We just read that, 5th chapter, 5th canto, 18th chapter, 12th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all the material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. And all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. So we should test ourselves to see if we are continually thinking of Krishna. If not, then those moments when we're not thinking of Krishna but fixing our mind on some other subject, that means we are going away from Krishna. We're like a stray dog. A stray dog has no master. So they can be dangerous. Just like dogs that have rabies are extremely dangerous. If they bite you, you get very, very sick, and you can get rabies also. It's a lethal type of disease. So, when a devotee puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. So that's the number one thing about thinking about Krishna. Other things become purified. Other desires, other thoughts become purified. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But here, there is no such condition, because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be continued without stoppage. This will protect the devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations. So if we keep our mind on Krishna always, and the best way is to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, then we become purified in mind and body, and it's easy to stay always engaged in devotional service. Okay. So, coming back, Prabhupada explains here that Krishna tells Arjuna that one who takes shelter in Krishna, who depends on Krishna, who becomes Krishna's devotee, he will never be vanquished. Konteya pratijani. Vanquished means conquered. Conquered by what? Conquered by Maya. He will never fall into Maya. Prabhupada begins to talk about his father. He said, my father was at the last stage of his life, and he was taking some rice mixed with milk. While eating that, he would also take a little curry, like a sabji with it. He said, I had a friend. If he received a sweet rasgulla, he would put salt on it. He would put a little salt. Rasgulla with a little salt, he would eat. Without salt, he could not eat anything. And my father, he was at the last stage of his taking some rice, milk, and mixed with milk. And even when he was eating that, he took a little bit of curry, a little bit of sabji with it. So he added that sabji for taste. Right? So the human being is not like a hog. A hog can eat stool and it thinks it tastes good. The human being has to have some nice taste. So the spices, just like last weekend, I asked people, do you like the food? They said, oh yeah, I like the spices. They said, So people want the taste. Or even a rasgulla, if Prabhupada's friend eats rasgulla with salt, because he likes the taste of salt. And then again, Prabhupada says, when my father died, the Kabiraja said, now you can do the rituals because he will die before next morning. And Prabhupada says, what he predicted, it actually happened. My father died the next morning. And one morning there was a doctor in Dhaka. Dhaka is in Bangladesh, right? Yeah. And the doctor was up in the morning, he was washing his face, and some man walked by and he was coughing. So the doctor said, come here a second, to that man. He said, where are you going? So that man was a farmer. He says, I'm going into the field. So the doctor said, better go home, don't go to the field. He was a very respectable physician, Prabhupada said. So the farmer went back. So his students asked him, how is that? You asked him to go home. He was out going to the fields to work. So the teacher chastised the student. He said, you do not know that he is coughing, and the sound is like this. He will die after 8 hours. Because he had experience. You know, the doctor had experience. The students did not know or understand. Coughing under such and such a sound, it means death after such and such a time. The doctor knew it. He had so much experience. So Prabhupada says, the Kaviraj can tell. When my father died, the Kaviraj said, now you can do the rituals because he will die before next morning. In other words, they're saying, get ready to do the rituals because he's going to die tomorrow morning. And Prabhupada says, actually it happened like that. My father died the next morning.
Who's the Kaviraj?
It was his father's doctor. Kaviraj means he's a doctor. Yeah. And he also predicted when he would die, somewhere around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And Prabhupada says he said it exactly. He had it exactly right. Before next morning, he'll die. So that is experience. If you say, after 20 days, the month of January is coming, the child cannot understand how the father has said that 20 days after January is coming. So it is better experience only that one can say, today is 10th, and after 20 days, 1st January will come. Everything is experience, but supreme experience is Krishna. In other words, you can predict that today is the 10th of let's say, today is the first, no, tomorrow's the 30th, yeah. Today is the 30th of June, and in 10 days, it'll be the 9th of July. You can predict it, right? You know it's going to happen. Well, the doctors are so expert, they say, he's coughing like this now, he'll die in 8 hours. They're expert. They have experience. So Prabhupada says, everything is experience, but the supreme experience is Krishna. Therefore, if we receive experience from Krishna, then our experience becomes perfect. That is our proposal. In other words, Krishna has perfect knowledge. If we receive knowledge from Krishna, then we're going to be perfect. And if we take knowledge from imperfect people, then we'll be imperfect. And Prabhupada says, later on, when I was young still, I lost my father. I was very sorry to have lost such an affectionate father. But by Krishna's grace, I have now many American fathers and mothers. He's talking about his disciples. He said, my father was very much affectionate, and in my childhood, whatever I wanted from my father, he would at once give me. One time he purchased for me one rifle, and so after taking it, I demanded that he must give me another. My father denied. You already have one. Why do you ask for another? So my argument was that I must have 2 rifles, one for each hand. Due to my obstinacy, my father finally agreed. Later on, when I was young and lost my father, I was very sorry to have lost such an affectionate father. But by Krishna's grace, I have now many American fathers and mothers. So I am appealing to all of my American fathers and mothers to help me by this contribution. Please let me know if you will do this. I am waiting your early reply. So obviously Prabhupada has asked something from his disciples, and he considers them like his affectionate father or mother. So he wants them to immediately give. Here's a picture of Prabhupada with his brother and his little brothers and sisters, his older brother and brothers and sisters. And the picture is of his father. And you see they're all shaved because the father died. So that's probably 1930. Yeah. These are Prabhupada's children, I'm sorry. They're his children. Yeah. So another time, Prabhupada says, I was a householder, my second son. He was 4 years old, and he was walking with me, and he said, "Oh, Father, why is the moon coming with us? Why is the moon following us?" This is very, Prabhupada said, this is very intelligent. In other words, when Krishna says he walks and he does not walk, Prabhupada says, just like a crude example I give you, that the sun at noontime, it is on your head. And somebody walking on the eastern side or western side, he also sees the sun, but he sees it as walking with him. Long ago, about 40 years, when I was householder, my second son, he was 4 years old, he was walking with me, and he said, "Oh, Father, why the moon is coming with us?" This is very intelligent, yes. So similarly, if a material object can walk so swift, you have seen, you are going on an airplane or train, you'll see the moon or sun is going with you. So how is it possible that Krishna cannot walk, although he is situated in the spiritual world? But you ask your friend, where is the sun? Where is the moon? He'll say, oh, it is on my head. Similarly, Goloka eva nivasat avkilatma bhuto. Krishna, although he is in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, enjoying pastimes with the associates, he is everywhere, according to the position, shape, form, activities. Everywhere. Therefore, it is said here that the Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He does not go from his abode. He is fully enjoying. But at the same time, he is present everywhere. Everywhere. So, the sun is in one place, but yet it's shining on our forehead. So you could say the sun is with me, right? Because the energy of the sun is expanded. Or the sun is following me. Or the moon is following me. So even though the moon is far away or the sun is far away, one still has the impression that it's following me. And the same way Krishna says that I don't have any legs, but yet I walk. So how is that possible? Well, because he also says, I'm present everywhere, but yet I never leave like the spiritual world. So how are these things possible? These are called mutually contradictory properties of the Lord. And he can do such things because he has unlimited powers. Unless we accept that, we remain an atheist. So another time he says that my second son was about 4 years old. So before breakfast, I used to ask him, show me your teeth. So he would go, shh, like that, open his mouth. Yes. All right, you have washed your teeth. That's all right. Then you are allowed to take breakfast, Prabhupada would say. So Prabhupada says, I began this Krishna consciousness movement. And whoever came, they were not in a pure condition. They were very contaminated. Every one of my disciples. So according to the Indian standard, they do not know even basic hygiene principles. What is the question of purification, you see? In India, the system is from childhood. A child is trained to take bath, to wash his teeth in the morning. I remember when my second son was about 4 years old, so before breakfast I used to ask him, show me your teeth. So he would show me his teeth. And if I could see that they were clean, I would say, all right, you have washed your teeth, that's all right. Then you are allowed to take breakfast. So this training is there. But here in your country, the training, of course there is some training, but not very strictly. So that doesn't matter. Chant Hare Krishna, begin Hare Krishna. Then everything will come. Everything will come. So if we follow the simple instruction, chant Hare Krishna and be happy, then all auspicious things will happen, and we'll be able to easily understand Krishna consciousness and spend the rest of our life with pure consciousness. So Prabhupada is giving an example. He was training his sons in cleanliness. It's just something that is normal, and all parents try and do that, but the training in Krishna consciousness is very strict. You have to take minimum 2 baths a day, put on clean clothes, put on tilak, and bow down to the deities, eat only prasadam, nothing that's not offered to Krishna, and so forth. These are different principles of cleanliness. Then another time Prabhupada said, my second son, when he was 4 years old, we were passing on the street and there was a big marriage party. And he said, and you know how marriage parties go in India. So here he connects this statement to a disciple of his who says, Prabhupada is just like the scientists. They cannot accept the existence of the soul until they see it. Prabhupada, no. Why you are repeating that? You have no seeing power. Still you're boasting of seeing. That is your rascaldom. That is your rascaldom, yes. There was a question in a newspaper. A child is asking his father, Father, you will marry a girl or boy in childhood, because he has no distinction what is a boy and what is the girl. Therefore he's asking that nonsense question. So he's asking his father, are you a boy or a girl? Right? So it's a nonsense question, right? Because he can't distinguish himself what is a boy and what is a girl. Therefore he's asking that nonsense question. Now, my second son, when he was 4 years old, we were passing and there was a big party, marriage party. You know how marriage parties go. So he was asking, he was a very intelligent boy, he was asking, what is this? What is this? So I also explained, this man is going to marry. So in this way, after Father, my son said, Father, you were married, he asked me. So this nonsense question is there. He does not know, without marriage, how I am come into existence. So these questions are like that. Childish questions. It has no meaning. Okay, so here the boy is asking his father, were you married? He's saying to his father. Father, the boy sees a marriage party. He said, what is this? The father said, it's a marriage party. A man is going to get married. Then he asked his father, he said, were you married, father? He said, he doesn't know. He's just innocent, not educated. So this is a nonsense question. And if Prabhupada wasn't married, he says, he does not know. Without marriage, how am I come into existence? You know, how would he be born if his father wasn't married and had a wife and so forth? Our problem is, just like his son, we do not have what Prabhupada calls seeing power, but yet we boast to see. We boast that we can see things. We hardly see anything. We see a bedroom, we see a kitchen, we see a car, we see an office, we see a little bit of nature, but we're always going very fast here and there. We're not really seeing carefully. And whatever we do see, we misinterpret it, usually. So then, another pastime, Prabhupada says, when I met my spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, so he says, as a gentleman meets a gentleman, so he was sitting on a couch, so I also sat down on that very couch with him. So now he's explaining, rules and regulations are subordinate. They're subordinate things. Just like you enter into an office, you are appointed in some office to work. So on the very day, you do not know all the rules and regulations. But because you do not know all the rules and regulations, that does not mean that you cannot be appointed. First of all, let yourself be appointed. Now, working yourself, you will know that rules and the rules and regulations. These are the rules and these are the regulations. Just like in my life, I will say one instance or one pastime. When I met my spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, so as a gentleman meets a gentleman, so he was sitting in a couch like that. So I also sat down on that very couch. So I did not know what are the rules and regulations. Now, when I saw that his disciples are coming and they are sitting down on the ground, so I thought myself, oh, I have done this wrong. I should not have sat with his divine grace. So of course, I did not get down immediately. I took it. From the next day, I did not sit. So rules and regulations automatically were taught. So that rules and regulations do not regulate you, but they are meant to elevate us to the level of a genuine devotee. So Prabhupada realized he made a mistake sitting next to his Gurudev on the same level. I made that mistake once also. I organized a press conference for Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was sitting on a table. There's a picture of me. And I'm translating him, and I'm sitting right next to him. That was very early on. I was just a new devotee. I didn't know. Later on, I realized I shouldn't be sitting on the same level as Prabhupada. But at that time, I was just initiated recently, and I didn't really know. And Prabhupada did not complain about it. So he's saying, I did not get down immediately, but I took it. From that next day, I did not sit next to my guru. So rules and regulations automatically are taught. But we must accept them wholeheartedly. So another pastime of Prabhupada, he recounts, he tells about how his Gurudev complimented him. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this boy hears very nicely. He does not go away. The first impression he gave to other God brothers. So I shall make him a good disciple. These very words my Gurudev said. Actually, I did not follow him in the beginning. He was speaking very high philosophical knowledge, and I was a new boy. I could not follow what he was saying. But actually, I was so much glad to hear him. That's all. So that was my qualification. Whatever you say, you may say, I was simply asking, when Guru Maharaja will speak? When he will speak, when? And I will sit down and go on hearing, and I will understand or not understand. Others will disperse, I will not disperse. That is what my Gurudev saw in me. Yes. First, there was first one instance. At that time, I was not initiated. There was a circumambulation of whole Vrindavana, and so I was not initiated. I was one of the important members So I thought, let me go. What these people are doing, circumambulating all over Vrindavan. So I went to Mathura. Then I went to the Vrindavan interior at a place called Koshi. And in that Koshi, one of my godbrothers declared that Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is going tomorrow back to Mathura, so he will speak this evening. So anyone who wants to hear him, they can stay. And others may prepare to go. So they were to go to see some other temple, which is called Sheshayi Temple. So although I was a new man, I did not like to go to see Sheshayi Temple. I decided that I shall hear from my spiritual master. So at that time, I was new. So all the others, some of my important godbrothers, they were sitting like this, and I was sitting. At last, you see, but he knew that this boy is new. Everyone else has gone, all others except a few selected godbrothers. So he noticed this. This boy is interested to hear me. So hearing is very important. Hearing. Just like Arjuna heard from Krishna. Come on. Because I was serious for hearing, and therefore now I'm serious about kirtanam, repeating, means speaking or preaching. Do you follow what I say? Yes. So one who is serious about hearing, he can become a future nice preacher. Shravanam kirtanam. Next stage is developed. That is development. If one has actually heard nicely, then he will speak nicely. Shravanam kirtanam smaranam. Then consciousness will automatically develop, because when you speak or you hear, unless your mind is concentrated, your consciousness is right. You cannot rightly hear or speak. In other words, what he's saying, what we repeat all the time in class, is that unless your mind is concentrated, you'll not be able to purify your consciousness by hearing class. And if you can't hear properly, you will not be able to speak properly. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam. And then one develops the spiritual qualifications. How shall I serve Krishna? Krishna is so loving. Krishna is so great. That automatically comes, not silent, but by practical activity. So, here Prabhupada is very strongly recommending very attentive hearing, even if you don't understand anything, but being enthusiastic to hear the genuine discussions of devotees and listen attentively, then eventually you will be able to understand everything by Krishna's mercy. So Prabhupada says, Mahajana Yenikatas Panta. We have to follow the great Mahajanas, or great devotees. We should not remain muda drisha, following low-class people. We should follow first-class devotees. We should follow the Mahajans and the Sadhus and Shastra. And they recommend the most important process is hearing, Shravanam. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam. If we don't hear about Krishna, then how we will make advancement? We have to hear. My Guru Maharaja was very kind upon me because I was very much interested to hear him. That I hear him. I did not understand him actually. In the beginning, I could not understand him. He was speaking in so high philosophical way that it was not possible. Still, I wanted to hear him. That was my only qualification. This is the process. During lecture time, if we don't care to hear, or we do other things or take rest, that is not very good. We should be very much careful. Then we shall remain mudha drisha. In other words, in ignorance. Nato natya daro yata. We have taken the vow to see Krishna or to understand Krishna. We should not be very, very serious and we should be very, very serious and do the needful. Then our life will be successful. So, nato natya daro yata. This is a Vedic aphorism. And basically it's saying that we have to take a sincere vow to understand or see Krishna. And we should be very, very serious and do the needful. The needful is regularly hear and discuss and repeat. The whole purpose of a temple is to have a comfortable place that's quiet, where people can sit down and hear with full attention the Vedic knowledge and assimilate it by repeating it, thinking about it and repeating it. So this is like getting an inoculation. Every day we should get this inoculation, this hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Therefore we're inoculated. We become immune to catching diseases. What is the ultimate disease? Attraction to material sense gratification. So one time in the Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur, there was a big snake that came out in the front yard. Prabhupada says, I was taking a bath. They have the pukur, they have a pond there. You go down the steps, you take a bath in the ponds. It's in the Chaitanya Mat in Mayapur. It's Guru Maharaj's temple. So a snake comes out in the front yard. Prabhupada is taking a bath. So everyone's looking what to do. He says, my Guru Maharaj was upstairs. He immediately ordered, kill him. So the snake was killed. So at that time, 1933, I was a newcomer. So I thought, how is that happening? Guru Maharaj ordered the snake to be killed? I was a little surprised. But later on, when I saw this verse, the following verse, I was very glad. Modita sadur api rishchika sarpa hatya. Still, there was some doubt in my mind. How Guru Maharaj ordered a snake to be killed. But when I read this verse, I was very much pleased that these creatures, these creatures like the snake, they should not be shown any mercy. No. And Chanakya Pandit said, there are two kinds of cruel creatures. One is the sarpa kura, or the snake. The snake is very cruel. Sarpa kura kala kura. And kala, a person who has awakened a quality like a snake. In other words, a person who has snake-like qualities, poisonous tongue, and so forth. So, then there's no fault. Why a snake is called so cruel? Because unnecessarily they bite. If somebody commits some offense upon you, if you bite me, that is reasonable. But if I have no fault, but you are biting me, the rishika, scorpion, and snake, they do that without any offense. A man is passing, an animal is passing, unnecessarily the snake or the scorpion bites without. So a man is sleeping, it bites. Therefore, they are very dangerous. Similarly, there are men also like the snake. Without any fault, they bite, without any fault. If I do something faulty, you can punish me, you can bite. But without any fault, if you bite me. So therefore, Chanakya Pandit says, Sarpa kura kala kura. Sarpat kurat tara kalaha. Such persons are called kala, envious or jealous. So there are two living creatures. One is a snake, and one is jealous or envious person. So Chanakya Pandit said, Sarpat kurat tara kala. This man, this envious man, is more dangerous than the snake. Why? He's a human being. Yes, because he's a human being, and he has got developed consciousness, and he has practiced to use the developed consciousness for becoming jealous, he's more dangerous than the snake. So for any leader, the most important thing that they have to do is to be able to recognize if someone is envious. Because envy is something that's almost impossible to heal. I mean, through Krishna consciousness, everything is possible. But you see, Duryodhana, he was never able to heal his enviousness of the Pandavas. Ravana, he was never able to heal his enviousness of Lord Ramachandra. So, if a person is envious, that can destroy Krishna consciousness. So when someone is a leader in Krishna consciousness, they have to be able to recognize quickly if someone is uneducated and innocent, someone is educated but envious, someone is educated and very humble and cooperative. So an educated, envious person is extremely dangerous, more dangerous than a poisonous snake. Yeah. Envious means that you will not be satisfied until that person loses everything. Jealous means you are not happy because somebody has something that you don't have. But when you get the same thing, your jealousy goes away. Enviousness is, even if you get more or the same or more than the other person, you're still not happy until they lose everything. So what does Ravana do? He already has 1,000 wives. He must take Sita Devi away from Ram. It's envy. Ram only has one wife, right? Ravana has 1,000 wives. No, he has to take Sita also. That's an envious person. So, a poisonous snake can be killed right away. An envious person, they should be avoided because they're extremely dangerous. Not everyone is envious. People are jealous, but not everyone is envious. Enviousness is highly destructive. They're not happy until the other person loses everything. They might have more. The other person has to lose everything, you see. You understand now? And the example is Ravana, Duryodhana, and so forth. They were both highly envious persons, and it caused a lot of damage. So one time, a devotee asked Prabhupada, is there any instance when you were chastised by your spiritual master? Prabhupada said, oh yes, oh yes. So the devotee says, can you tell us? Prabhupada says, I remember the moment because it was very valuable for me. Okay. We'll continue tomorrow. Today we have to do so many things. Haribol.